Are you planning to move to Belgium, but as a foreigner, you have no idea where to start, how much your rent will cost, how much your utilities will cost, how the contract will look like, how much deposit you have to pay, and so on and so on? Well, that is completely natural, and especially Belgium, in my opinion, has such specific, weird, complicated laws around housing that I have not seen anywhere else before. So in this video, I just wanted to give a quick overview about the most important things that you have to know before you move here. So let's say you are looking for a place, right? You are most probably looking for a place from abroad. Maybe you still have to work. Maybe you don't have the opportunity to travel to Belgium and just look for a place here while you are paying for an Airbnb or a hotel, or it can be really expensive. So where you can look online are websites like Immoweb or Zimo. On Immoweb, both real estate agents and private owners are allowed to post their ads, whereas on other sites like Zimo, it's only the real estate agents that can post anything. You have to be really vigilant about scammers. They are really common here in Belgium. So if anyone asks you to pay any amount of money up front, if they tell you that, oh, I have a company who's taking care of the keys, and once you arrive they will give you the keys, just pay this money to me. If it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. So about the houses, the properties in Belgium, I would say for renting there is a bit of a competition. It's nothing like what you would have in London, of course, or in the UK, but there is a competition. So for example, if you plan a visit, there may be 5 to 10 other people coming on that same day, or sometimes they have like this big open visit where everyone just goes there. But for example, for some apartments, I have to wait outside with like 10 people in line, and then I left after my visit and the landlord already texted me that he had given away the apartment. So the competition can be quite fierce, especially if it's around the time when, you know, there's a new semester starting. In Brussels, it also can be really competitive around March or October, because that is when the European Commission, European Parliament, etc. trainees are coming here for their 5-month terms. So you should keep that in mind as well. The prices, again, nothing compared to London. I think Brussels is fairly expensive. Antwerp prices are increasing as well. But I think they are still a bit lower than Brussels prices, and then in the countryside it will be a bit lower than that as well. I think Ghent prices are a bit lower than Antwerp, and so on and so on. So let's say you found an apartment or house that you really like. What you will have to do is either fill in a form that the real estate agent gives you, or you can write something like a brief motivation letter where you say stuff about yourself, you introduce yourself. You have to say for how long you want to rent, you have to say when do you want to start to rent, you have to say if you have any pets. Needless to say, it's a lot harder, unfortunately, to find an apartment if you have pets. And you also have to say if you have children. What is really general that they will ask for is your 3 latest payslips. That's a bit difficult when you are moving from abroad for a new job. But in that case, you should show them the work contract and how much you will be paid once you move to Belgium. Once they want to sign the contract with you, they will also ask you to send a copy of your ID card and they will also need your current address, of course. So let's talk about the contract. Belgium is really unique in the sense that it has always a determined term for its housing contracts. There is no such thing as an undetermined term and you end it whenever you want. It's always for a term. It's either a short-term contract or a long-term contract. A short-term is anything up until 3 years. Most commonly, they will ask for minimum 1 year, which is a really difficult thing for a lot of expats, the trainees, the European Commission trainees, or students or Erasmus students, so on. I haven't honestly really seen a lot of opportunities that only offer a flat for like 6 months or a shorter period than 1 year. I think if you are looking for something like that, then co-housing is the best solution for you, or the student accommodations that I will talk about later on in this video. The long-term contract can be anything from 3 years to up to 9 years. And there are different rules on how you can terminate these contracts if you want to terminate these contracts early. But it's true for both types that you will always have to give 3 months notice before terminating the contract, and you always have to pay a penalty. I will talk about this later, how much the penalty is. Something you have to pay attention to is that maybe your contract is only for 1 year, right? But it usually includes something like an automatic renewal of your contract. So if your contract ends in April and 3 months before you don't send the notice to your landlord, then it will automatically renew, and then you again will have to pay the penalty for ending the contract earlier. So let's talk about terminating the contract earlier. If it's a short-term contract, there are different rules based on which region of Belgium you are living in. So if you live in Brussels or Wallonia, you have to give 3 months notice and pay 1 month rent for penalty. But check your contract, because maybe it can say something different. In Flanders, if you want to terminate this short-term contract, then you also have to give 3 months notice and you have to pay a penalty depending on how long you have been staying in the property. So if you terminate it in your first year, then you have to pay 1.5 months rent penalty. If you terminate it in your second year of living there, then it's only 1 month rent penalty. And in the third year, it's only half a month rent of penalty. So if you have a long-term contract, like a 9-year contract, then you can terminate it earlier, but not within the first 3 years. If you terminate it within the first 3 years, then you have to pay in the first year 3 months rent, in the second year 2 months rent, in the third year 1 month rent penalty. So that's a lot of money. So try to opt for a contract that is more short term. It's also really important because as expats or immigrants, we are just never sure, right? I mean, who knows what will happen? We don't have a financial support system here. We don't have a family here, most of us, or we are moving with our families and we feel responsible for them. So I think it's a lot of pressure on immigrant and expats. So let's talk about the security deposit. So the amount differs again based on the region you are moving to. In Brussels, you have to pay 2 months rent as a security deposit, and in Antwerp and in Flanders, you have to pay 3 months rent. The deposit has to be paid on a blocked account, which is something that will be set up on your name. You can either set it up on a governmental website. I will put the link in the description below for you, or you can do it through your bank. Or you can also ask the landlord to set it up with their own bank, and then you go there and you sign papers and then you pay the amount, and then you can get the key, and then basically your contract is valid when you paid the deposit. But never pay it in cash, never transfer it to the landlord's, landlady's bank account, because otherwise you never know if you can actually get it back. So what decides if you can get your deposit back, right? There has to be an inventory check carried out before you move into the apartment or house. So this is either done by the landlord, landlady, or a third-party company. So they will come to the property and check the state of everything and document the state of everything, take photos and give detailed descriptions. And they will also include the current figures on the meters for electricity, gas, water, etc. So this is really important. This huge document will be sent to you. You have to check the pictures, you have to check everything. And after your contract starts, you have 1 month to say if you disagree with something, if something is not working, and so on. So when your contract ends, this company will come back, or the landlord will come back and perform another check of the state of the property and see if everything has to be repaired, if you have done any damage. And based on that, it will be determined how much of your deposit you will be able to get back. And what I have read so far, that usually you get back your deposit within 1 month after moving out. I have to say here, some of the real estate agents will offer to pay your deposit to this insurance company called Corfine. And I share this with a lot of Belgian people, and they will completely advising against it. Because they say that it's really hard to get back your deposit from them, and then you have to chase them all the time, and it takes sometimes even a year or more for people to get their deposits back from Corfine. And yet the real estate agents keep recommending this company. So I'm just putting it out there. I don't know if there are any Belgians here. What have you heard about Corfine? What's the status on this? But this is just a bit of a warning about what I've heard. Okay, so let's say you paid your deposit, everything is all right, you signed your contract, the inventory was performed, and you are moving in. So most of the Belgian properties will be unfurnished. If it's furnished, most often they will try to sell you the furniture, like either the previous tenant or the landlord. It's an option to go for because sometimes it can be pretty difficult to get new furniture in Belgium. And I'm not talking about buying new furniture, but for example, IKEA has a huge fee for delivery here in this country, and they don't even bring it upstairs. Even if there's an elevator, they just dump it on the ground floor. So it can be pretty messy. And the other thing is a lot of these buildings are really narrow. The staircases are really narrow. So a lot of the times you will have to rent like this special truck that will lift your furniture up to a higher floor. And for this, you have to go to the district house or municipality, or do it online as well. But you have to reserve the parking spot for that day before in front of your property, in front of your apartment. And you also have to, of course, pay extra for this kind of lift. It's called ladder lift in Dutch, but it costs a lot of money. Something that most apartments will definitely not have is a washing machine. So That's been my pain since I've moved here. So before moving anywhere, just ask the owner whether there is like a slot either in the kitchen or in the bathroom for a washing machine, because it can be just so much more comfortable having your own washing machine. So let's talk about utilities, common costs, and the insurance. So first of all, the insurance in this country is your responsibility as a tenant. So most contracts will have a paragraph about insurance, that you have to pay for it for fire and for family insurance most of the time. Family insurance is if you're single and you live alone, maybe that's not necessary. It's for to insure for anything, any damage that your family members or your flatmates would cause or something like this. The insurance, you can set it up with your bank online, and it will be like a monthly charge, but it's really important. And most of the time the landlord or landlady asks you to send you a proof that you have actually set up the insurance, and most of the time you have to send this even before moving in or within the first month of you living there. If you are moving to an apartment, you will most definitely have something called the common cost, which is basically to pay for the maintenance of the building and to pay for this representative company called syndicus that takes care of everything in the building. Sometimes the common costs can also include unlimited water usage and gas usage, and then it will be of course a higher price. In my experience, the common costs can be anything from 30 euros up to 250. If it's something like 250, then the water usage and the heating has to be in it. You have to check that it really is in it, because otherwise it's just a huge amount of money. So electricity and gas. Belgium is again unique in a sense that here they have private companies, private energy providers. Anywhere I lived before, it was something state-owned and it was just one organization and that's it. Here you can choose between multiple organizations and their prices are really different. I will put a link in the description where you can compare the prices of the different energy providers, and you can choose the best price for yourself. So usually you can select to pay or get either just the electricity or either just the gas, but you can also have the two of them, because almost all energy providers provide both of them, and then you will just get one bill for both electricity and gas combined per month. You can sign up for these services online. You can completely manage everything online, get the bills in your member account. One important thing is in order to sign up anywhere, you will have to provide something called an EAN number. So it's EAN number, and it's you either gonna find it on the meter or you have to ask the owner, because it's always on the invoice that they receive from the energy provider. The water, in my opinion, many buildings have it included in the common costs. In that case, it's gonna be unlimited water usage, but you should really check with your landlord or landlady what the common costs include. And then internet, it's pretty much the same as anywhere. You can select between different providers. However, you have to check if they have any coverage in your building. Some companies will not. Then you have to ask them for an appointment to come here and install the router and everything. and this installment will be an extra one-time amount, I think around 50 euros. It depends on the service provider. And then when this is all done, you have to register your new address, of course. So if you're a newcomer in Belgium, you definitely have to go to your local commune or district house. I think in Antwerp you actually have to go to the district house in Deurne if you are a newcomer there. So once you registered your address, either at the local commune if you're a newcomer, or online if you already had an address here, in every case the police will come to your address to check if you really live there and if you really live there as you have declared. So if you are living there alone, I don't know, if you don't harbor any fugitives or whatever, they will come and they will just ring your doorbell and check. So it's really important to put your name on the bell outside on your building, in front of your building door, also on your post box, and it's important to have a working doorbell, otherwise the police cannot contact you. After this visit from the police, you will get a letter, and then you will have to go back to the district house or local commune, and there then your address will be registered, and you need this last step to finish the process. For me, I registered myself in Brussels first, and it was during the COVID lockdowns, and the entire process took, I think, between April and September. So that's like 5 months. It's probably gonna be faster now that we don't have a global pandemic. Okay, let's say you want to move out. Ending your contract is a really important topic that we have to mention here, because I already mentioned earlier that if you terminate your contract early, then you have to pay a penalty. So if you end your contract, doesn't matter if it's early or if it's when the contract would naturally end, you always have to give 3 months notice. And the 3 months notice, it has to be sent via post with a registered letter. In Dutch it's called aangetekende brief, but it's really important, it has to be sent this way. It's not enough to send an email, it's not enough to call your landlord, you have to do it by post. And the other important thing is that the 3 months notice only starts from the first month of the following month after you sent your letter. So if you want to end your contract with April the 1st, then you already have to give notice in December. Just remember this. And also, if your contract comes to an end naturally, you have to give notice, because otherwise it automatically renews itself. Or at least check if this is in your contract, but most of the time it will be in the contract. And then just to talk a little bit about student housing. So if you are coming here as an international student, then in my opinion, going for a student housing option is gonna be a lot cheaper. Unless you really need your own space and you have to have your own apartment. Student housing here, it's not like what you see in American movies where you have a roommate and whatever. Here they are called a kot in Dutch. And this is basically a room. The size can vary, of course. If it's a bigger room, then it's gonna be a higher price. Usually they have their own private bathroom, or at least a private shower, so it's a bit less invasive. Of course they have a communal kitchen. Sometimes they will have like communal toilets outside, but at least a private shower you can have with this cot option. And they are much cheaper than renting a studio apartment. I think even half the price of a studio apartment at the moment with these current real estate prices. So these were the most important things in my opinion. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know about your opinion. If you have any suggestions, what other topics I should cover next, please let me know, and I will see you next week.